This is the TriSwimCoach Podcast, where the most difficult leg of the triathlon becomes your friend, leaving your struggles and your competition behind you. TriSwimCoach.com, helping you to laugh at the water.
Welcome to TriSwimCoach. This is Kevin, and this is episode number 134. And in just a minute, I have a returning guest on the show, and that is Coach Dominic Latella of SwimBox. And we're going to get into an upcoming clinic that he is going to be running in Boston, and then also some really cutting edge information that you cannot miss. This is an amazing show. Gets a little bit technical, but the overall results of doing what he talks about is going to be mind-blowing, I think, for your swim. And then I just had a personal announcement I wanted to make on this show, and that is that I have started a new project that some of you may be interested in. If you're on our TriSwimCoach newsletter list and you're getting emails from me, you know that I can be a little bit philosophical and a little bit get into different topics besides swimming and swim technique and things like that and training. And I started a new project called Nomad Health Coach. And so I have decided to kind of commit to spending my time in a variety of places, moving every 4 to 6 weeks or so, and just kind of exploring different cities and things like that. And also talking about and teaching how to be fit and free. And so my Nomad Health Coach you can find it at nomadhealthcoach.com, and you can subscribe and you'll start getting emails from me right away. I make no bones about the fact that this is a list where you will receive lots of messages from me, usually one a day. Sometimes a little less than that, but usually daily emails. And they are going to get into philosophy around being free and being healthy and just, starting with your mind. And that's the thing that I focus on. I don't get into too much with like workouts and swimming and things that I've talked about a lot more here and then on TriSwimCoach. I get into more the mind stuff, the psychology, the mindset, things like that, that if you don't have that, it is really tough to be actually free and to have long-term fitness. So one of the courses that I offer is called Burn Fat for Life. So it's about being fit and being healthy and being able to keep the fat loss going permanently. Because I think a lot of the programs out there that are talking about weight loss and diets and things like that, they're more temporary fixes. And I really hate seeing that because so many people do this. They join these programs, they go on these yo-yo diets, and they work for a while and then they stop working because they haven't worked on the most important thing, and that's their mind. So anyway, if you have interest in that, you can sign up, and you can get more at nomadhealthcoach.com. So I hope to see you over there. And that's about it. If you like this show, if you can just hit that subscribe button on whatever app you listen to it on. A lot of people, it's iTunes. So if you can hit that subscribe button, that would be awesome, because then you won't miss anything from TriSwimCoach. So without further ado, here's my interview with Dominic Latella. Have a great week of training, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, Dominic, welcome back to TriSwimCoach.
It's good to be back. Is this number 4 or 5 times?
I think it must be 5 at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's starting to feel like home a little bit. So it's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. It's great. I did this show so long, just solo. And I started thinking like people must be getting bored of my voice, what the things I'm talking about. So it's always great to have. And we had Chris on a bunch of times, and it was great to have other coaches on. And especially with your background and what you're doing, it's, it adds so much value to our show and just TriSwimCoach in general.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine trying to talk about swimming by myself. I can't swim by myself because I get bored. Talking about swimming by myself would be probably equally as boring. So.
Speaking of boring, yeah. So I've been training for this 3.7 mile swim this summer. And yesterday, I've been going to different pools and different places to swim. And yesterday I went to this place. They had an indoor and an outdoor pool. It's a gym. It's a Lifetime Fitness. And I immediately went to the outdoor pool. I mean, it's like 80 degrees outside and not raining. And it's like, I'm going outdoors. But the outdoor pool had these like really narrow lanes. And there was one person in every lane that was swimming very slowly. And I was like, this isn't going to work. Like I can barely fit in that lane. And I'm going to be constantly passing this person that there's room enough for like basically one. So yeah. So then I went to the indoor pool. They have actually a lap swimming pool indoors as well. And I ended up getting in there. But after I was swimming for a while, I really don't like stuffy, hot indoor pools. And I just felt like, ugh, this is like, I felt stale. Everything felt boring, gross. So I ended up not doing as much as I had intended, but got in a swim anyway.
Well, you have picked a good place to live most of your life, because it doesn't even register in my brain until May that there's outdoor pools. So
yeah, that's true.
You're fortunate.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm in Austin now, but I'm mostly, I've been in San Diego for so long that I'm just spoiled by thinking everything needs to be outdoors and, all that. But, but yeah, they have a thing called lightning storms here that makes things, it's really annoying.
In Northern Virginia, they'll close pools down, indoor pools down during thunder and lightning storms.
Oh, so, yeah. Well, that makes sense, I guess, just in case.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if there's a lot of glass around the pool, that's why they mostly do it. So
yeah. So today we have a special announcement, and then we're going to get into some fun swimming stuff. But we're going to talk about, we are kind of co-sponsoring or
co-hosting, collaborating.
Some clinics, 3 clinics here in the US this year. And the one that's coming up really soon, probably about 5 or 6 weeks after this show is released, is in Boston. So we're going to emphasize that one. But then we have one in Chicago later in the summer. And then we have one in California, probably Southern California in the fall sometime.
Yeah. So we're working on California still. Chicago, we planned for August 17th and 18th. And then Boston, we're going to do June 22nd and 23rd. I'm super excited about doing these clinics. It's what we've been working together now, you and I, for over 2 years, right? So we've been doing some things together with, like, I do the video analysis for TriSwimCoach, and obviously I'm on the podcast with you guys all the time. So I'm just really excited to be able to interact with people face to face and help people change their strokes in person and start that relationship in person. So yeah, that's for me is where I really try to like feel more comfortable, and I really can be myself in person. I've always had a hard time with online coaching or things like that. It's just, there's something, you lose some feel of that individual by just a video or something to that effect, right? So it's so nice to be able to have the chance to see people in person and interact with them in person and find those special magical cues that you can say to someone that just instantly makes a difference. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, totally different world in person than on just chatting on video, or even worse on Facebook.
Yes, even more difficult, Facebook. Exactly. So yeah, we're planning, I mean, just really quickly, I know, because I really want to talk to you about the propulsive phase stuff, but we were planning on, for the clinics, to make sure that we utilize our time properly, that the first day of the clinic, we'll do some underwater video analysis, and we have this like beautiful high speed underwater camera that's super crisp and clear. It's just an amazing image that this thing puts out. So I can't wait to do some video analysis with everybody. We'll do some stroke technique work, obviously for specifically freestyle and open water freestyle. And then on the second day, we'll do an in-pool open water simulation clinic. So then we're kind of combining what we learned on freestyle. On the second day, we're putting it to use, hopefully. And so we're trying to make sure we get everyone as much information as they can without overwhelming them. So at the end of the clinic, what we'll also do is send them their videos and give them a quick little report of the analysis that I did with everybody, so they can walk away with that.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. And just to clarify, it is a 2-day clinic. So you go one day, cover certain topics, and then the next day we have a whole different set of things. Yeah.
So I guess people can find us shortly. Once this podcast is released, people should be looking for it, right? So what were you planning on doing? Were you going to send an email out to everybody?
Yeah. If you're on the TriSwimCoach list, you'll get a notification about this. But if you're not, you can, I think we'll create a specific URL. So if you're interested in the Boston clinic, and that is June 22nd and 23rd. And it starts at 10:30 in the morning, goes to 1:30 p.m. And so if you're interested in that one, you can go to TriSwimCoach.com/Boston. Let's just make it that. Let's just keep it at that.
Yeah.
TriSwimCoach.com/Boston. And you'll see the sign up page. You'll see all the information about the clinic, and you'll see the sign up page and how to get in. And we're only, just to make sure that you know this, we're only allowing 15 people. So it's not a huge clinic. You're not going to be, there is probably going to fill up. So I would do this soon rather than wait. And then we also have an early bird special. So for the early bird special, if you sign up by June 1st for the Boston clinic, then you can get this at a discount.
Yeah. And that's it. I mean, we tried to keep the number to 15 so that everyone has high quality coaching, has plenty of space, and plenty of opportunity to get feedback.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then I'm sure everybody's wondering, well, what is the price? So the full price is $447, and the early bird special, which is signed up by June 1st, that is going to be $399. So $399 for the whole weekend, and you get your videos and you get a lot of take home, and you should be ready. The idea of this is to get ready for your next race. So be race ready and have the full confidence that you can tackle that swim and have a great triathlon.
Yep.
So cool. Well, yeah, that's our, again, the URL is TriSwimCoach.com/Boston. And when we have the Chicago one ready, we'll put that in the show notes, but that one will be the same thing, TriSwimCoach.com/Chicago. And that's August. What is it again? August?
It's 17th and 18th.
17th, 18th. Okay. Yeah. Great. And then we'll be talking about California as we get there, but that's coming in the fall if you're out in the West Coast and you want to do that. But a lot of people are going to be traveling to these. So,
yeah.
You know, that, and we'll have hotel information and all that. So if something doesn't work date-wise, you can always travel to one of the other ones.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be fun. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, and then we had something that, Dominic, you wanted to get into today that's been fun.
Yes. So it's been probably about 3 months or so. I've been trying to figure out a way to better approach freestyle in general. And I've taken a big step back onto like how I was coaching freestyle and how to move forward with people into kind of breaking the habits that they're used to doing or what traditional freestyle looks like. And some people, will probably disagree with me, and that's fine. I get it. But I think it's important for people to have alternative information as well to make their own decisions. So what I've been really focused on is how the propulsive phase of freestyle can promote a reactionary core, which I know sounds like a lot of sort of coach talk. So I just want to also be clear. I'm calling it the propulsive phase because I do not want to call it a freestyle pull anymore. I think that it's misleading to call it a pull, and I think it leads to people thinking of something that it shouldn't be.
Right.
So I'm trying very hard to break the habit of saying the freestyle pull, because it is not really a pull. It's much closer to a push, really, when you think about it. So trying to call it the propulsive phase, it's a mouthful. So, but it's the most, to me, accurate way to do it. So what I was kind of playing around with some of my clients were basically, could we do a freestyle that allowed them to keep an anchor point consistently from the very beginning of their propulsive phase, so their catch, all the way to the end of their propulsive phase, their finish. And in doing that, kind of recognize the kind of cool little patterns that you can see. So we started by playing around with kind of a straight arm recovery, not a complete straight arm recovery, because this was allowing people to rotate a little bit less and increase their cadence. And being able to increase their cadence, they were able to keep, sometimes, depending on the person, 2 anchor points in the water at the same time, which was really interesting. And to kind of like give a visual for that, why that is possible or even important, if we were playing tug of war, right? And I gave you the side of the rope and I had a side of the rope, but I had 3 other people on my side, right? Who's going to win? me, right?
Right.
But if I gave you the rope, but also let you grab onto a pole or something that was anchored into the ground, you would have a much better chance of winning.
Right.
Because you have that anchor point already in the ground. I'm not moving that anchor point. And as long as you hold on to that, you're not moving either.
Right.
So if you can figure out how to have two anchor points, one in the back and one in the front, you actually generate a lot of propulsion. It's really impressive.
Yeah.
Not easy to do. And it does take some practice to do. And so I started using this drill that we call a kayak drill. I'm sure you've probably seen it, Kevin, where people have swum with like PVC pipes in the water before. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I have.
All right. So when you do that version of this drill with the PVC pipe, you're kind of fixed. You're in a locked position. You can't really make a mistake in a way, but at the same time, your arms aren't in great positions because they can't move. Mm-hmm. So we started doing our version of kayak drill with a bungee or like a exercise band.
Yep.
So that people would take their first stroke and they would cause the tension on that band. And the reason why we call it kayaking is that you have to try to keep the tension on the band the entire time. So your arms are sort of staying at this not completely opposite pattern, but just about opposite from each other, mm-hmm. which this is where people are going to be like, what about front quadrant freestyle? So, yeah. Which I get, I understand. So, but that's allowing some of my clients now to have those two anchor points. And if they don't keep those two anchor points, it's fine because at least they're transferring one anchor point, their finishing stroke, into their next anchor point as the next hand is entering. Mm-hmm. So there is no moment of pause. There's no moment of gliding. And in open water, that's incredibly important. And with the kayaking drill, what it helps people teach isn't just the timing for their arms, but it helps people start to understand how their hips play a role in their cadence, in how their hips play a role in how much their arms actually have to work. Anyone that does this, that tries to just only use arms, learns really quickly it's not going to work. It's not going to happen. So we put up a kayaking drill video on the SwimBox YouTube for sure. So if anyone wanted to check it out, they could check that drill out on SwimBox YouTube.
Cool. And we'll link to that in the show notes as well for this show.
Okay. Great. So we started out with that, and I was seeing such an incredible difference in my swimmers' freestyle at all ages, from my 16-year-old clients to my 64-year-old client, who was just shocked how much better her freestyle was. And so I got really into just paying attention to what that meant to have an anchor point continuously through their freestyle. So what you started kind of noticing is as people get so, I don't want to say anxious, but maybe anticipatory of getting back to the catch or getting their arm out of the water, they start pulling their arm out earlier and earlier. And so they're losing the anchor point sooner and sooner. And the way that the physics of swimming basically is wherever you set your anchor point out in front of you, it's exiting the water at the same exact spot. Mm-hmm. So it's not really traveling through water, even though you think that it's traveling through water.
Right.
So the goal should be, how early can you set your anchor point? How far back can you keep your anchor point? And then as you watch people take their anchor points out early, a couple of things start happening, especially if you just try to touch your thigh, that old cue of touch your thigh with your stroke, which is not that old of a cue. It's a good cue for beginners so that people start to learn the length of their arm. But people's arms or hands start turning inwards towards their thighs. And now you no longer have a paddle.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Right? You start exiting the water almost pinky first in a way.
Oh, yeah. And
so you lose probably like the last 6 inches of that paddle. So there's a couple of butterfly drills that I kind of learned a lot from, just by simply providing resistance for people on land as they push down on my hands, and then letting their hands go and watching where their arms go when you take away the resistance. Okay. And it kind of it's a good demonstration to show people that if you are generating resistance and pushing against resistance on the water, basically is the resistance, as soon as it goes away, your ligaments cause this kinetic energy that bring your arms forward during the recovery. So it's a lot smoother and a lot economically easier for you to swim because you're not forcing the motion. It's press and it just releases, and your arm doesn't have anything to do with that energy anymore. So it goes forward. So it's not about picking the elbow up. It's not about all these small little adjustments that you have to make sure you have the perfect relaxed recovery, or as some people like to incorrectly say, a high elbow recovery. Sorry, I had to point that out. And then it's really been interesting to teach people this sort of kayaking drill to keep these paddles, because then people don't have to try to be perfectionists about making sure they rotate at the right time, and they don't need to make sure they rotate the exact amount, and they have to have their elbow going forward and their hand pointing this way and that way. It's a lot fewer moving parts in order to actually achieve the smooth, easy motion. So then I've started going down this rabbit hole. And it's like, oh, well, how do I prove to people how important it is to be obsessed about the finish of their stroke versus obsessing about the catch of their stroke? I would say for as long as I've been coaching, 90% of the questions that people ask me about are about the catch of the freestyle.
Yeah.
Right. It's like this magical, mystical thing that people have to know about. Well, the truth is it's important, but it's also probably the weakest portion of the propulsive phase, because when your arms are up overhead, your shoulders are so sort of in a weak, vulnerable position. They're not generating that much force anyway.
Right.
It's kind of like doing a pull-up versus doing a dip. Dips are typically easier for people. So with your arm being down in that finishing position, you're in a much stronger, naturally stronger position to generate propulsion. And I can remember when I first started coaching back in 2005, 2006, the Australians were trying to promote a freestyle where you pulled your arm up at about your waistline, where they were saying the finish isn't even worth it. Just get back to the front for front quadrant freestyle. That's where all the power's at, right? Well, people don't swim that way right now for a reason, because they were wrong. I think we saw that in the Olympics of 2006, where the US did a lot better than Australia.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting, like a callback to the beginning of my coaching, is to point out, like, whoa, that finish is so important. How do we make sure people are actually getting this and understanding how important that finish is? So we sort of developed this drill, what we call an egg beater sculling drill, where basically you're just working on the finish of the stroke, pushing back and slightly out. So if you could picture somebody ice skating, I know you probably have not ice skated that much in your life.
No, I grew up doing that a lot. Actually, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a speed skater in the Olympics.
Every time I say this to someone from California, they go, no, I ice skated all the time when I was a little kid.
Oh yeah. We had a mall. So the only thing to do when I was a kid was go to the mall, and there was two things to do. There was ice skating and movie theater. And so I spent a lot of time on that ice skating rink. And so, yeah, but
that's so funny. So speed skating is a perfect example, right? So if you can think about speed skating, what's the motion of your leg? It's not straight back, pick up and then go forward.
Right.
It's outward and to the back. It's like a J shape or a hooking shape. That is the same exact motion that people are supposed to use when they swim as well. And if you don't know ice skating, if you've ever been on a stand-up paddleboard or in a kayak, it's the same motion as that you would use to take the paddle out. You wouldn't get to the end of your paddle phase of your kayaking and just pick it straight up. You feather that paddle out of the water.
Right.
So that's what we're trying to promote to our clients. And one of the drills we have come up with, unfortunately, can only be done in an endless pool. That's where I primarily teach out of, is what we call a solid state paddle. So we've hooked up a suspension band with a paddle attached to it into the pool, and people have to have their arm finishing in their finished position, and they're just holding themselves up with their finished position. And basically the goal is for them to feel their obliques react to that resistance. So for instance, as long as your shoulder blade is down and your triceps can be engaged and your arm is slightly in front of you, right? So your finish is actually still in front of your body. It's on the front plane of you. That's why we rotate. It will force your core to react as long as your core is in alignment.
Yeah.
And this is a really powerful statement. I don't know if people realize that or not, because basically I used to always think of swimming as, if I can get someone's core in alignment, then their arms can do what their arms are supposed to do. And then their kick can do what their kick is supposed to do, right? We want the core to be aligned so the limbs can function properly. But now I can make this really lovely run-on sentence of, if your core is in line, it allows your arms to do what they're supposed to do. They help keep your core in line. And that is like, to me, was a big sort of eye opener. Like, oh my God, this is what traditional strength and conditioning coaches talk about when they talk about not cueing the core. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but anytime you cue somebody's core, you kind of disrupt what their core could naturally do. We want your core to react to what your limbs are doing. So it's kind of been this really great opportunity to sort of get past sort of these ideas of squeezing the belly button into your spine. And we have talked before about my FBM breathing stuff. And for me, your breathing is a way to, like, almost like a loophole to not cue your core, because we're cueing your breathing instead, right? Mm-hmm. Well, it's helpful, and it definitely makes people more aware of their posture and what their body is doing. So that idea of the breathing, coupled with making sure you generate resistance for your core to react to, has been magical to see. I'm going to use my 74-year-old as an example. Sure. She used to come in and warm up in the endless pool at about a 220 pace, right? 220 pace means basically 2 minutes, 20 seconds per 100 yards, right? I taught her how we did the steady state paddle drill. And the next week she came in and she was doing 215 at her warm-up pace. And after the first week of her doing that, she like fell in love with this drill and wanted to do it over and over again. And now she's warming up at a 208. Wow. Because she's starting to get this idea that if her shoulder blade is down, her tricep can react. And if her shoulder blade is down and her tricep's reacting, she can actually generate some resistance against the water with her hand. And now her core is reacting. And now that her core is reacting, her legs just fall in line. She never would be considered a good kicking freestyler. She never kicked. Her legs often went all over the place. But now that her core was rigid and in control, her legs look beautiful. It's amazing, actually. So we also have a video of the solid state paddle drill on YouTube as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I was going to ask about that, if that was up there. Because it's one thing to explain it. And to me, like when I'm hearing it, I'm like, wow, this is so amazing. But then it's hard for me to picture doing it because I don't have the video in front of me. So with a podcast, there's only so much that we can, kind of get across. But it is still it's still mind blowing, because what you're talking about is completely simplifying something that has been pretty much overcomplicated for years.
Right.
Yeah. And so that's what's amazing about it. It's not, it sounds kind of technical, but it's much more simple than what we've been doing for all this time. And you're ending up in the same place. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I agree, right? I know I have a way of talking, and sometimes it gets overly technical the way that I'm talking, because I'm trying really hard for people to understand the mechanisms that are happening and why these things happen. But to apply it actually is fairly straightforward. The hardest part about it is breaking the old habits of trying to achieve this, what I would call like a traditional freestyle, and getting people out of their head and kind of taking a lateral step and going, okay, I defined freestyle as one thing. Now I'm going to redefine it. And that's the hardest part, is redefining what freestyle is to people.
Right.
Actually doing it isn't that difficult. It's just kind of a subtle change that people have to kind of make. And I was thinking about it this morning because I knew I was going to be talking to you. And if you don't have an endless pool to practice this in, you could do some vertical. So we're going to call it pulling for this instance, right? Because freestyle, right? When you swim freestyle, you put a pull buoy in, you put paddles on, that's called pulling. So you could do some vertical pulling and really work on understanding, as long as you keep pressing your palm downward towards your feet as you're vertical, it's going to lift you up. Mm-hmm. But if you try to move your arm to how you would traditionally in freestyle, it's not going to move you up the entire time.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Right. So people can try it vertically, and they would basically just start at the top of their waistline. So like their bottom rib or so, they could just kind of keep their hands in their front plane and push straight down so that their hand is basically finishing at their front pocket. If they're wearing pants. All right. So they would finish that, and you could do both arms at the same time, and you could feel yourself lift up. And you can kind of go back to probably when you were a kid swimming and your coach made you do get ups, right? Where you had to get up out of the water by pulling yourself up onto the pool deck. right?
Oh yeah.
Pushing down onto the pool deck. It teaches you to push down on the pool deck. But what's been so fascinating is I can absolutely tell when someone isn't pushing against the water, because they'll start to lift up their back. So meaning their back is sort of drooping. So if you take that image of someone drooping horizontally and said, okay, now pull yourself up out of the water, they will always 100% of the time lean over their anchor points. Because if they didn't, they would just fall right back into the water. So when someone goes horizontal, we should be seeing the same exact thing. We shouldn't see someone leaning away from their anchor points. We should see someone kind of leaning into their anchor points a little bit. So that all kind of sort of keeps people in that same idea of staying in line and keeping their anchor points pressing back. I had a client that took 45 minutes for her to find her right obliques. But once she found it and she was able to finish her stroke properly, she's been swimming 5 seconds faster with less effort. Even though she's not doing a front quadrant freestyle either, but she's not winded either because she's timing everything appropriately. So it's been this really kind of cool, fascinating thing. So from a coaching perspective, what this has helped me identify is I can absolutely now determine when someone loses their paddle based off of their posture and their kick. So I can see someone's back hyperextend or do a side crunch if they don't keep a paddle. And it's like this weird thing that just happened. And now I look at swimming almost in a completely different way. And I've been doing this for 14 years. So that's like a weird moment to have and go, oh, I see this differently now.
Yeah.
For the very first time in my life as a swim coach, 14 years, I actually was able to fix somebody's kick and their rotation by not even once talking about their kick or their rotation. All we talked about was generating paddle and keeping that paddle as possible. And once she started doing that, everything fell into place. It was really cool to see. So I felt like I had to get on here and share this with you.
Yeah, no, this is incredible. And I love that you're open to discovering these new things, because most coaches are not. It's like, this is what I've been teaching for 20 years and this is it. And this is the
right.
But
yeah.
That's really cool.
It's, it can be annoying sometimes. I'm never satisfied. So, so it's like, is there a better way to do this? Is there a better way to teach this? Is there an easier way or simpler way to do this? And so I have figured it out for myself, and I'm trying to apply it to my clients, and they're starting to come around and pick up on it as well. So I just want to try to get it out there so people can experiment a little bit. And as I told one of my pro athlete clients, because I'm not his main coach or anything like that, but he's a triathlete. He has a tri coach that does his swimming as well, but he'll come in and see me every once in a while. His tri coach wants him to do sort of a more traditional front quadrant, relaxed recovery freestyle. And I get it and I completely understand. And so, but what's important to keep in mind is now you have options, right? So with the straight arm freestyle, you are a little bit wider. So if you're swimming in a pack of people, there can be a greater chance of arm collisions and things like that. So maybe in that situation, you go back to a more relaxed, higher elbow recovery. But then when you kind of break away from the pack, hopefully if you're swimming 1,500 meters in a pack of people, that's a long time to be doing that. Hopefully you break away from them at some point, and then you can kind of go to a straight arm freestyle and kind of break free a little bit. So it's kind of an opportunity to have multiple freestyles techniques, I guess, freestyle techniques for different situations. And in my opinion, that's what's important in open water swimming, is being able to change with situations, not going into open water hard, fast on, this is how I do everything. I will be taking a breath every 3 strokes. I will be sighting every 9 strokes, and I will be doing this. And I will, you can't do that in open water. You should have enough wherewithal to say, okay, I want to breathe to my left side, but there's the sun, so I'm going to breathe to my right side now. Right?
Yeah.
Things like that. So it's been a couple of really interesting last 3 months for me. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. And so at the clinics, we were talking about the clinic earlier in the show. Are you teaching some of this stuff at the clinic?
Yes. So I want to be careful. And actually, you know what? This just came to my mind, and it's something I should have brought up to you off the podcast, but I'm bringing it up to you now. Hope you don't mind. Because you can think coach's toes or anything like that. So if anyone that's coming to the clinic, if their coach is local to where we're going, and they want to shadow the clinic and be on deck, I don't mind at all. And I would appreciate that actually. It gives me opportunity to make sure that the coach understands what I'm doing and talking about, and that I'm not trying to overstep or overreach. But I'm offering this also because I will be teaching this stuff at our clinics, and I want coaches to understand it before they are, just approached by their athlete and go, hey, I learned this new thing from this guy that I've heard talk on the internet a couple of times. Because I know if someone said that to me as a coach, I would not necessarily be open to it immediately. You know?
Yeah.
So
sure.
To answer your question, yes, we'll be talking about this stuff in our clinics.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great to hear. And there'll be plenty of videos and stuff about all this, because I think people are probably wondering, like, how can I do this as soon as possible so that I don't have to waste time learning all these other things that, are helpful, but ultimately this is going to be, as far as racing goes, like you said, this is going to be really a huge leap forward.
I think so. To me, the core is the most important thing when it comes to swimming. So if we can find ways to keep it rigid or reacting without focusing on it, then everyone's going to be a much faster swimmer. Anytime you have to think about what it is you're doing in the middle of a race, you're probably going to slow yourself down, right? It's that flow state, right? We want to be in a flow state when we're racing. So everyone, if you don't know what a flow state is, it just means your brain is on autopilot and it does what you've been training it to do. So if you've ever woken up, gone to your pool in the morning and not remembered how you actually got there, you were probably in a flow state. I'm using that example because that has happened to me several times. I used to have clients tell me all the time, oh, I was doing my race and I had your voice in my mind and it kept telling me to tighten my core. Well, I never say that to people ever. So they're adding that to my coaching and saying, oh, I'm going to tighten my core up. I'm going to make sure I focus on this. Well, that's not what you should be focused on when you're racing. You should probably be more focused on the race, what your pace is, where the buoys are, who's around you, not your technique, because the technique should have been worked on, the entire year before your race, basically.
Sure. Yeah. That's not the thing that you want to do at the last minute, which is, we do get quite a few people that come to TriSwimCoach with that. Like, got a race in 3 weeks. Can I, is this going to help me? It's like, well,
depends how bad you are, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you haven't been doing any swimming at all in your whole life and you come to us 3 weeks before. Yes, absolutely. But for most people, they have ingrained habits, and trying to change everything just a couple weeks leading to a race is a pretty bad idea. Yeah.
So the last sort of point to this, and I wish I had a better way to describe this freestyle other than this non-traditional, it's not even a straight arm freestyle because it's not 100% of a straight arm. And I think straight arm freestyle means something else to other people. Straight arm often is referred to for like sprinting. So I'm not sure what to call this other than freestyle, because that's what it is to me. But in my freestyle, I think it's also really important to almost create your paddle and make sure all the moving parts are moving in the way they're supposed to, making sure you sort of bring your shoulder blade down after you set your catch, and then you extend from your elbow so that your tricep is activated. If you just kind of go through those motions instead of trying to actually find resistance, you will end up swimming faster. What I have found is people that try to find resistance to kind of push against, someone I used to coach used to describe it like she felt like she was throwing kettlebells behind her because she did a lot of kettlebell work. Right? Well, if you feel that, that's not necessarily a good thing. That means that resistance is probably too much for you, or that you're searching for resistance and you can be tricking yourself. So often if you bring your arm out really wide during the sort of catch portion, you're putting your arm in an even weaker position, and that weaker position feels like resistance, but it's really just weakness. Or you might put your arm really deep to find resistance, but now that's so much resistance, and it could be so much resistance being put into your deltoids and into your shoulder joint that it would be sort of unsafe and could cause injury. So I don't want people looking for resistance. Basically set your paddle, bring your arm back, and as your shoulder blade goes down, your arm is extending, your arm should be slightly pushing back and away so that your palm is always facing behind you. As a swimmer, I've been slightly polling swimmers that I know. In my experience as a swimmer, I never had a race where I swam my fastest and I said to myself, wow, it really felt hard to push against. It always feels effortless, right? I mean, for you, is that a true statement as well?
100%, yeah.
Right? And I think it feels effortless because you're in that flow state. You're just going through the motions. You're doing what you've trained yourself to do. You're not searching for more resistance. You've created a paddle and it's gone through the positions that it's supposed to go through, and you have accelerated because of it. So it's a different way of thinking too, in that respect.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I would say that for myself as a coach. I used to tell my beginners for them to speed up, not to worry about turnover or cadence. And I would still say that to them. But I also used to say, try to just pull harder. And I think that made people search for resistance. They were searching for hard water, basically. And I don't necessarily want to condone that anymore.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. It just kind of reminds me of like how a lot of people are with their lives. They're constantly seeking out struggle. Like, how can I struggle more? They don't realize it. They're not trying. They're not necessarily like consciously trying to do that, but they are always getting into situations where it's a big struggle, and they're like, everything's a struggle. And it's like, well, you're actually doing that yourself. But it totally applies to the swim too. Yeah,
right. It makes sense. Everyone does that when they work out. Everyone at some point in their lives has tried to make something harder, because when you feel like it's harder and you get through it, you feel like you did hard work.
Yeah.
But we don't really need to feel that. Right. You could be very successful in the water without feeling that hard work. As long as you put the distance in and the time in, that's the hard work.
Right.
So, keeping that in mind. And speaking of, I guess, not having resistance in your life, aren't you starting some new project that is about being freewheeling?
Yeah, that's a good lead in. Yeah, I talked about it in the prelude to the show, but it's called Nomad Health Coach. And so I've been sort of become nomadic, where I'm not really settling in one city for very long. And I'm teaching a lot of the concepts around health and freedom. And so it's sort of like freeing up your life and then becoming healthy. And the course that I have with that is called Burn Fat for Life. So the for life is the important part, because there's a million different diets and routines and, fat burning programs, but mine is permanent. The idea is that you're not just doing something and, give this a shot and maybe it'll work for you. It's more like changing your mindset so that you are adapting things on a permanent level in your mind, and then everything will flow with your new mindset. So
yeah, that sounds great. Especially the nomadic part. I think
yeah,
I'm terrible about traveling. When I travel, I almost feel like a little kid still. It's like, no rules apply.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay up late. I'm gonna eat whatever I want.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that you're doing that. I really hope it works out, because I think it's a great idea.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, it's fun anyway, and it's kind of more in line with like my passion and everything is health and freedom. So
yeah, absolutely. So, by the way, if people have questions about what I'm talking about, they can obviously see the videos on YouTube, but they're also always welcome to send me an email. One of the cool things about podcasts is I get to talk to people from all over the country. So if you want my email, it's really simple. It's Dominic, DOMINIC @theswimbox.com. And I will be happy to answer anyone's questions about anything swimming related. I get emailed from TriSwimCoach listeners fairly frequently, actually. Yeah. So it's my pleasure to continue that relationship with them. And I'm really looking forward to those clinics so that I can continue those relationships with those clinic participants as well. I feel responsible after I've coached somebody even once, that I'm responsible for them now. So that's always been why I was sort of hesitant to doing clinics. I think that clinics sometimes can be disruptive. Right. So what I mean by that is if somebody comes into your town and goes, I'm going to host this clinic, you go to that clinic and it's completely different from what you've been coached for your entire swimming career or your triathlon career, that could be really disruptive for the coach and the athlete. Yeah. So I don't want to be the problem. I want to be part of the solution. And so I always want to make myself available to people that come to my clinic. So when someone comes to my clinic, I expect to have a dialogue with them for as long as they are swimming. Yeah. I'm always available to them basically after that point.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's really, really cool to be connected with you and have that resource for people to access out there. So, yeah, so that's great. So let's just mention one more time, the Boston clinic with Dominic is going to be on June 22nd and 23rd. and you can sign up. And like I said earlier, there's only 15 spots available. We're just announcing it now. This is the first time we're getting it out there. So if you want to get on this, just go to TriSwimCoach.com/Boston and you can get that early bird discount as well.
Yep. And the sooner people sign up, the happier I'll be, because I really want to go help people. So I want to know that they're going to be there.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So I think that's about it. Do you want to mention anything else before we sign off?
No, I think that's about it. I know it was kind of a whirlwind of an explanation of this sort of new approach to freestyle, but I think, maybe in a month or so, we can reconnect and see if people email me and have questions about it or leave comments on the YouTube page and see if we can kind of explore it a little bit more.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I love questions too, because it gives us topics that are relevant to what people are wondering about. So that helps.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Cool. Well, awesome, Dominic. Yeah, that was some great info as usual. And this is, I think this is going to pave the way to some new, better freestyle training for triathlon. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to helping as many people as I can.
Cool, man. Enjoy your time in California.
Thanks. I will try my best.
All right, cheers. Thanks for listening to another episode of the TriSwimCoach Podcast. If you like this show, consider giving us a 5-star review on iTunes and we'll read it off on the next show. And to get the latest triathlon swimming tips, tricks, blogs, and podcasts, go to TriSwimCoach.com. See you next time. Until then, befriend the water.